Today I'm going to be checking out a show that I genuinely avoided like the plague, Velma. I don't really know why I never wanted to watch this show, but I think there's one main reason.
That show, it's rage bait. That's all it is. They changed everything to make people angry so that they would watch it. Oh, that's all it is, I swear.
Oh, you're so right, Succubus! They changed everything about what made original Scooby-Doo work, taking away Scooby-Doo and focusing on Velma just to bait the audiences. I have never watched this show, but that was the main reason that I never wanted to watch it. It actually just looked like rage bait to me. Everything they were doing and everything that I heard about this show, it looked like they were just trying to piss off original fans of Scooby-Doo, so I avoided it like the plague. But with avoiding that, I know nothing about this show, I don't know the plot, I don't know anything that really happens with the characters, so I'm gonna be watching it from a biased point of view and seeing, was Velma actually that bad? And if you like content just like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. I upload almost every single day, and you don't want to miss it. And if you want a place where you can talk about your favorite games, movies, and shows, my Discord will be in the description. Now let's finally take a look at Velma. Taking a look at the very first episode of Velma, rightfully titled Velma, my initial biggest issue with the show is it's trying way too hard to get you to laugh, and nothing they really do is that funny. It's not bad, but it's not inherently funny enough to make me get out of my seat and be like, yeah, you guys know how to comedy. It's just like the most mediocre comedy you could ever tell, which is whatever. I'm not really watching a show called Velma for the comedy, to say the least. I would more be watching it for the mystery, for the developments, to see my favorite Scooby-Doo gang once again. But here, it's like a serious, genuine situation, and they just try to throw random comedy in your face. It's like if you go to your favorite burger joint and you're feeling a little bit different, and you want a chicken sandwich, and as you're ordering that chicken sandwich, they just look at you and they go, and they just start going, this beef patty's so good. Are you sure you want a chicken sandwich? You know, just like shoving it down your throat that maybe you should order a burger instead of a chicken sandwich. That's how I would describe the comedy in this show. Just shoving it down your throat, hoping that it's gonna make you laugh, but in reality, it's just not that funny. I just didn't like it very much. But either way, we actually do get a decent start, I guess, with Velma just being like, oh, before everything, before the dog, before anything, I solve mysteries, and this is my story. Yeah, Velma! Woo! You tell him, girl. They also try way too hard to make Velma seem like this icon, to say the least. They try so hard to shove it down your throat that Velma is somebody that you should root for, and that you should care about, and that she's so #slay. That's actually how I would describe what the creator was probably thinking when writing all the dialogue for Velma. Some of it's in a joking manner, but in the other sense, it's just Velma being like, oh yes, I'm a beautiful swan. Oh yeah, I'm so graceful. I'm so funny and quirky and cute. Yeah, it just feels like that. And I don't really like it when characters have to be shoved down my throat in order for me to actually like them. I like when it's built naturally and I could just enjoy them for who they are. Either way, we cut to Daphne and all of her friends being in the locker. They're gossiping about movies and gooner bait, and they're naked. Oh my god! They're talking about how movies have naked scenes, and it's just gooner bait, so they shouldn't do that, but Velma here is showing a naked scene with Daphne and all her friends, and Bubbles are covering their breasts, and they start having a womanly fight, so all the gooners were like, yes! Yes! This is why we watch Velma! It's just great meta comedy, I guess. I don't know, it was okay. And then Velma comes in being her quirky, good old-fashioned self, and beats the shit out of Daphne, throws her into a locker, and then all of a sudden this chick falls out, and she's brainless. Her brain has been taken out, and everybody puts the blame onto Velma.
You are again? Ugh, we get it.
And that is how we get, you know, thrust into the mystery, to say the least. We then cut to a bunch of scenes, which again are just like, I don't know, I feel like it's trying way too hard with the comedy, with Velma being an angsty teen, and the two police officers that are interviewing her are lesbians, so we get a bunch of jokes like, aren't lesbians supposed to be good at solving mysteries? Like, I don't get the reference. What are you referring to? I don't get it. But either way, they have a little bit of bickering, and Daphne and Velma, they used to be besties when they were growing up, so that's cool, I guess. Velma leaves the police station, runs into Fred, and Fred is like classic alpha jock, you know, he's on that grind, he's watching that Andrew Tate, he's like, oh, I have to look so good for my father. Oh, what's your name again? And then Daphne runs up to give him a smooch and a little hug, and they have this conversation where Fred doesn't really want to give it up, and he says his plan B was the girl that got murdered at the beginning of the episode if Daphne ever left him. So yeah, just establishing his characters very well, I guess. I don't know. It's genuinely just trying so hard to do so many different things, especially when we go to Velma going home. And this could have just been a normal scene. There was no reason for this. I guess if you want to make it so you hate Velma's dad and Velma's, her dad's, like, significant other who he got pregnant, she just, like, strips down naked and is like, ooh, look, it's my fetus inside of me. Ooh, yeah, I'm so different. You should hate me as the audience. Oh, yeah.
You need a real camera to capture real, unmanufactured moments.
And I felt like that scene was supposed to make me laugh, but again, it was just nothing. It's just a pregnant woman getting naked and just being like, oh yes, the baby's kicking, oh Lord. It just doesn't feel like it's doing a whole lot, and it takes away from something that I'm actually enjoying, which is the mystery. I actually kind of like that they found a dead girl in the locker, and Velma wants to solve it, and she wants to figure it out, and she has like these weird hallucinations where every time she's trying to solve a mystery, this like really cool animation of hands coming out of the ground or something will come up and grab her throat, and just be like, oh, you can't solve a mystery, no!
I didn't kill Brenda.
And how are you going to prove that, Velma? You don't solve mysteries.
I think that's really cool. That's a cool concept, and I enjoy it, and aside from the fact that the animation looks like shit, when they actually do the hallucinations, I thought it looks really good. It was really cool. If they're not doing the hallucinations, then the show just looks like every other adult animated show ever made, which is weird because every adult animated show usually looks sloppier than cartoons. I don't know why that's a weird fetish creators have. Like, let's make it look slightly worse than cartoons. Let's just do that so that, you know, they can tell it's an adult animation. We can't have a good adult animated shows. It's just odd to me. But either way, we then get introduced to Norville later in the episode when Velma is out having more hallucinations and she talks to Fred and they're having this big old, you know, conversation about how Fred is a pussy and he can't stop crying and he's so sad about it. And then Fred learns to understand Velma because Velma's having hallucinations and feels bad about her mom, and we get to learn her whole backstory about how her mom was so nice and got her into solving mysteries and then she vanished one night just because she went to go and get gifts or something. Very odd. Norville shows up, which is supposed to be Shaggy, and I was so unbelievably confused why they would call him Norville and not like initially introduce the nickname Shaggy, because that's what it is. So I was like, I'm gonna do a little bit of research. What's going on with that? So I searched it up, and apparently they decided to change him to Norville because they didn't have the full rights for Shaggy and all of that stuff. That's why they changed his ethnicity, all of that stuff, other than to just, you know, shock people, I would assume. But that's why they did that. So I was like, okay, so they don't have the rights fully to Shaggy and they don't have the rights fully to Scooby-Doo, that must mean. So why would you want to make a brand new IP, a brand new property when you don't even have all of the existing media? It just feels like you're handicapping yourself if you ever want to, you know, make the fans a little bit happy, like reintroduce Scooby-Doo or do something like that. It's like, yeah, we're missing a bunch of pieces of the puzzle, but let's make a show anyway. Let's just see what we can grab from Velma and Daphne and Fred, and let's see how that's gonna go. It just is a weird decision to me. Like, I would not want to just take one thing from an IP that is so beloved because of everything in that IP and just make a brand new IP because of it, because I have just small fragments. It just seems like an odd choice. I don't know. It's just weird to me. But either way, they get in the car and they have this conversation, that being Norville and Velma, about how they think that the murderer might be Velma's like stepmom or just her dad's girlfriend who's pregnant. So Velma goes in there and does one of the most impressive roles ever. She rolls stealthily, finds the camera, and it turns out that it's not the stepmother. And then we get this big reveal where the dad is all like, oh, Velma, you know that this is because your mom left us. And Velma's like, no, she wouldn't leave. And then she has a real flashback that Velma was just a terror around the house, just a toddler that was drinking, finding cigarettes, ruining everything, just a horrible, atrocious person. And I don't know, I would be fine if this was like built up a little bit more, but it feels like in this first episode, they're trying to get as much out as possible. Like, oh, Fred is a dick. Oh, Daphne's a lunatic, but they used to be friends. Oh, Velma loved her mom. We get an entire flashback all about that. Oh, Velma was actually horrible to her mom and now has to come to terms with it to deal with the fact that she could still solve mysteries and just be on her own. And I don't know, it feels so unbelievably rushed. Like, you got 10 episodes, you could like spare a couple of minutes here for a little bit of development and not give me two separate flashbacks that, oh, Velma was an amazing child, oh, Velma was an awful child. It feels so rushed to me. I don't know. I'm not even trying to bitch and moan about everything. It feels like a very odd episode 1 to where you're just throwing everything at me and there's no build up to it. And then just immediately Velma goes to school and she's like, oh, guys, now that I know that my mom might have left us and like, it's not my fault, I can't be the problem, I'm gonna dress sexy, I'm gonna look sexy and hot.
Need Tangerine?
No, it's Velma. I'm just unburdened by the belief I caused my mother to go missing.
And then everybody points out that she might just be doing that because she might be trying to cover up the fact that she murders people. And Fred stands up for her. Fred character development episode 1. And I don't know if the show's just trying to be shocking, but Fred like throws a tray and just chops off this guy's leg and it's never brought up again. It's never brought up again. Why is that not brought up again? That's a very, thing that you should, like, bring up. He chopped off a dude's leg. Why are we just looking over this? And then, because Fred doesn't want to give Daphne his goods, he doesn't want to be a little guy who wants to just pound it, Velma puts 2 and 2 together and assumes that it might be Fred doing the horrible, awful murders. And so, They go to sneak into Fred's house, and Velma hops a wall and starts having hallucinations again. And again, I really like the hallucination scenes. I think they're actually pretty cool. I was having fun with that. It's a cool concept. And then because Shaggy or fucking Norville is all like, oh, Velma, you're so beautiful. Velma starts laughing and is like, oh, wow, really? That's funny. We're friends. We're friends. You're in the friend zone. And that's how she gets out of her hallucination nightmare. And before that, I have to mention this scene just because it's so stupid. This is one of the scenes where I'm just pointing out that they want to make Velma an icon and make you just fall in love with the quirkiness, but I don't think it works. When Norville is shoving Velma up this wall, she falls, like face plants, and she could have just owned it, but she's like, no, I'm cool. I'm a graceful swan.
Velma, did you fall?
No, I'm cool and graceful like a swan.
And that's the type of comedy that you could expect from this, where it's just in your face trying to show you that the character is cool and quirky, and it genuinely made me sigh while watching the episode because I was like, oh, it's that kind of show, huh? It's not like horrible comedy, like I'm not gonna hate it, it's just mediocre, which is just sad. So she's in Fred's house in his room, and Fred comes out. He's showing off that he doesn't have any hair on his legs, and that's the reason he was taking pictures and he wanted to pay the lady. And then the cops show up, and this just genuinely makes no sense whatsoever in terms of the story, because they walk in and they just shoot Fred in the legs. Which, like, to me just seems like the most invalid reason to do something like that to Fred, because I know it showed a scene where the cops were pulling up to Norville, but there's no way Norville was just all like, oh yeah, we think that Fred might be the killer and Velma just broke into his house. Like, that's not enough reason to do anything. Like, he maybe, the Norville didn't have the camera that showed that Fred was taking pictures of the girl that was killed, so it doesn't make any sense whatsoever why all of a sudden they would walk in and be like, Fred, we gotta shoot ya. First of all, like, if we're looking at this at least a tiny bit realistically, they go up to Norville and they're like, Norville, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, Velma thinks that Fred might have killed somebody. And the cops weren't even initially on Velma's side, so why would they immediately be like, it must have been Fred, and break into his house without a warrant and shoot him in the legs? That part just threw me off, unless I, tuned out because this kind of sucks. Why would that happen? It makes no sense why the police would break into his home, shoot him, after hearing that Velma broke into his house. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. At least to me. At least that's how I'm looking at it. So they shoot Fred, and then Fred's on the ground, he gets arrested or whatever, and then Velma and Norville go outside and they find another girl in the trash can who also has her head chopped off to keep that mystery going. But so far, I'm not very impressed. Like, initially, I was really liking the whole mystery vibe of it, like, oh, who is the killer? Like, Velma has these hallucinations that she has to get over. That's a really cool concept. I enjoy that. But then it just shoves so many things down your throat at the same time. Like, oh, Velma used to be really close to their mom and then she vanished. Oh, Fred is actually just a crying little bitch and like wants to be friends with Velma. Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, Velma was actually a torturous child and was really bad and was really annoying. Oh, Velma, she wants to look cool and look popular. Oh, nobody accepts her. Oh, Fred is really her friend and just chops the dude's leg off. Oh, now they think Fred is the killer. Oh my God, they shot Fred. Like, it's so many things for one episode and it's 20 minutes. And somehow they make it feel like they're fitting in 2 hours worth of content, or at least it should have been 2 hours worth of content, because it all happens so fast. Like, genuinely. I could not get by it. So we got 9 more episodes, but Velma episode 1, if I was to rate it 1 to 10, I would give it a 4 out of 10. I don't think it's as bad as people would like to say it is, but it definitely does a lot of things wrong. The next episode I'm going to be taking a look at is Candy Woman. In this episode, I have a lot less to say about because it wasn't as rushed as the first one. I think I ranted for like 15 minutes about that. But here, it just kind of more focuses on making the audience as pissed as possible. Like, I'm not a Scooby-Doo purist. I'm not like, no, you can't make a new IP without Scooby-Doo. I can't handle this. Like, I don't care. Like, I like old Scooby-Doo. I'm not the hugest Scooby-Doo fan, but I wouldn't hate them trying to reinvent the series or do something different if it was actually decent. But here, they do something that is so unbelievably different from what fans know that it's just bound to piss them off. And I guarantee you the creator would just be like, well, you're not open to new ideas. You're not open to changing the norm. You're not open to being different. Well, yeah, when people are used to something that's been going on for like, I don't know, 40 years, a very long time. Scooby-Doo's been a thing for a very, very long time, and you're gonna change something that is so core to everything that somebody knows, then you're obviously just trying to piss people off. That's what it feels like. The episode opens with the only joke in the series thus far that I actually liked, with Fred being arrested, which still makes no sense to me. I don't feel like they had anywhere near enough evidence to arrest Fred or say that he was the one who did it. It was literally Velma being like, it might be Fred! Oh my God, it might be Fred! Let's shoot him in his kneecaps! Yeah, it's just kind of stupid. So, Fred's walking out, his bathrobe falls off, and everybody sees his tiny little schlong, his little Peter Pan, and his father runs up and he's like, it's not small, it's just scared!
The murders. Obviously, it's the murders.
It's not small, it's scared.
I thought that was pretty funny. I actually liked that a lot. But either way, we then just get a bunch of slop jokes about how Velma's dad wants to represent Fred in trial, and he's gonna ride Fred's baby carrot all the way to the moon, stuff like that. So that sets that up. At the same time, Velma wants to get $500 so she could buy her cold case off of Daphne, her mom's cold case. So that's fine. And then Velma and Daphne team up. And I feel like if this was more of like an episode 4 thing, episode 5 thing, where there was more build up to it, then it would maybe be a little bit more believable. But these two were literally fighting in the first episode, genuinely looked like they wanted to rip each other's throats out. And now, let's make them have some romance! Let's make them stare into each other's eyes and start getting a little sensual and sexual!
Perfect daughter is
Wouldn't dare.
It's just so odd how they decide to progress this show in a way where nothing feels like it's built up, it's just happening. And I don't like that very much. They start hanging out because Velma's looking for the money and Daphne is the candy woman, a drug dealer at the school. And Daphne's like, oh, fine, you can help me. And then we get a bunch of scenes that aren't very interesting. It's just the same thing over and over again where Velma will go up and be like, drugs, get your drugs for sale. And then say something really mean-spirited to whoever is buying them, just being very truthful. And that's pretty much the entire joke. That goes on for a very long time.
get your drugs here.
At the same time, Norville is trying to help Velma get enough money to get the $500, not realizing that she's already with Daphne, and he's willing to sell his kidney. So they took Shaggy, they made him into Norville because they didn't have the property rights for Shaggy, and then they just turned him into a cuck. Like, what's the boardroom meeting like for that? Okay, guys, we want to make Velma. We want to be a little bit different, okay? We want to do something crazy, but we can't use Shaggy. What should we do?
Well, I got a great idea. Let's make him fucking obsessed with Velma. Let's make him really want her really bad. And then let's make Norville, yes, let's name him Norville, and have to make him a cuck and watch Velma get with Daphne.
Wow, that sounds unbelievably thrilling. That's gonna get everybody who's a fan of Scooby-Doo just laughing, rolling on the floor, crying a little bit. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, Norville. Yes. You can't be with her. Oh, yeah. I don't know. To me, it's like not the biggest thing ever. Like, I don't care that it's Velma and Daphne. It's just more of the fact that there's been, I don't know, 5 or 6 other shows where it's always Velma, Shaggy, Fred, Daphne. It's just like an established ship to have. And trust me, I hate shipping. I hate it so fucking much. But even I, a guy who doesn't give a shit if you want, I don't know, what's a good reference to that? Deku and Bakugo to be together. Like, I don't care. I'm not gonna get this parasocial obsession that 2 characters need to be together. But when it's 2 characters that are just kind of iconic together, you're just gonna throw that away? Just to piss off audiences? It's just a little bit weird, and then making Shaggy Norville a cuck at the same time, just having to watch. It's a little bit sad. Like, he literally wanted to give his kidney for Velma. That's just crazy. So either way, Velma and Daphne, they're selling the drugs, and Velma goes up to sell this one guy who turns out to be his father, and the father catches Velma selling stuff. So they come up with a deal that Velma is going to try to help Fred get off this case, and she gets this brilliant idea to make Fred look like a little baby, which leads to him getting out of a car looking like a toddler, and then it rains, so he looks like Hitler, and it's a Hitler joke.
He looks like Hitler! And not just because we compare everyone to Hitler these days.
It's so meta and silly. We call everybody Hitler nowadays. Woo! Now that's a joke that can run by me, that's for sure. It's just kind of whatever. The court case was also kind of whatever. Velma realizes that there's no way Fred could do it just at a flip of a dime because Fred can't cut a steak, which again is basically the same way that she realized that Fred could be the killer. Just like, oh, light bulb, as that one guy Gru would say. Yeah, it's just not very enticing how the story progresses, at least to me. So Velma helps with the case, and then Fred looks like a buffoon because he gets upset that everybody's laughing because he can't cut a steak. So he looks like the killer, and he gets guilty just right away. So that sucks. And then Velma goes home and just starts having hallucinations when talking to Daphne, and Daphne pulls her in and is all like, oh, yeah. And then they just start passionately making out with each other while Norville's standing there like a cuck. Great. And I didn't talk about it, but I want you to understand the progression of this relationship, okay? Velma gets pinned to a wall by Daphne, and there's not like a zing moment or anything where they're both looking into each other's eyes. Daphne actually looks pissed, and Velma's like, oh yeah, pin me, baby, pin me, Yeah, that's basically her reaction to it. And then Daphne has to have that moment too, so that you know that it works, that it's good. And Daphne, her moment in the episode is just like staring at Velma for 1 second after she's talking about how she's cool and different and you shouldn't make fun of her, and then her eyes like hallucinate for a second. She goes like, and then she stops. Those are our 2 moments. Well, there's actually a third one where they land on each other and they start blushing. So those are our moments that lead to this big old kiss after they were fighting the entire time. And I know hatred can be the same thing as love, oh my god, but it was just kind of dumb to me. I don't know. The progression of it was really bad, and it genuinely just felt like, hey, let's make these 2 characters kiss to see how many people we could piss off and get to keep hate watching the show. That's what it felt like, at least to me. There was also a pretty decent cop chase scene in the episode where they're running away from the police because they get caught being drug dealers. That was fine, I guess. I just glanced over it because I had already forgotten about it because it just didn't matter that much, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty much the episode. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would probably give it a 5 out of 10. You know, I might be ranking this a little bit high, but, you know, it's like just average. Like, there's nothing so amazing about, you know, I'm gonna go 4 out of 10 because there were a lot of things that I didn't like, especially progression wise. But it's not so unbelievably horrible that I need to turn off my TV and I need to bleach my eyes out and just, like, I don't know, use a cheese grater on my balls. It doesn't feel like that, but it is pretty bad compared to stuff I have watched previously. So yeah, 4 out of 10. Can't wait for episode 3. Take Taking a look at episode 3, Velma Kai, this is by far the most pointless episode in the series thus far. It's basically just an episode for,
oh, Velma, I don't know if I want to be with you because you're such a nerd. Oh, Daphne, you're too stuck up for me, bitch.
Yeah, it's basically all it is. It's just Velma and Daphne dealing with their lesbian desires for each other, and the fact that like, do you like me because I like you, but oh yeah, you're too popular for me. Oh. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just so odd. Like, I don't know why they had to spend an entire episode dealing with this. I knew the second they kissed that that's what the entire next episode was going to be about, but why can't they just kiss and then it's fine? Like, why do I have to watch like, oh, you don't like me, oh, I don't know if I like you, because there was no build up to them kissing in the first place. That's why it pisses me off. Like, the build up was just them staring into each other's eyes. No fixing their past trauma, no getting over it. There was no reason for them to want to kiss and to fall in love right there. In this episode, they do establish more of a reason for them to like each other, but it was just built upon nothing, which is why initially I didn't care for it. Like, they could have built it up so much better and then I would actually feel enticed to care, but I just don't. I just don't. I'm not like the people who are like, oh no, bro, Velma and Daphne kissed, bro. I can't handle this. No, they're lesbians and they're from Scooby-Doo. Oh God. Like, I'm not like that. Like, I don't care about that. I still think if they were just an original IP creation, like just far off from Scooby-Doo, then this would be perfectly fine and not as many people would hate this. But I still think that this was built horribly and there isn't a reason for them to want to be together. I don't know. I don't get it. Either way, the build up for it sucks. So we then have our B plot for the episode, which is Norville becoming a therapist and going to prison to try to learn things about Fred, which is ultimately fucking pointless because what is the one thing he gets out of Fred? Oh man, Velma's mom showed up to her house one night and we're not supposed to care about people over 35, so I didn't care. Wow, that's great. They said that in episode 1. They said that same thing in episode 1, that was her last known location. All that gave me is confirmation. We spent 8 minutes with Norville being a therapist for prisoners just for a confirmation. Yes, she was at the house. Really? Really? Wow, I wonder why Velma would say that in the first fucking episode. Yeah, it's just pointless. So Velma and Daphne, they're having conflicting feelings about how they feel about each other. So they go to the bathroom, they talk it out, and then they argue, so they fight. And then they're both competing in a women's self-defense tournament. And we get some decent scenes out of that. It's just really not that funny. I guess the best one is where Velma, like, cartoonishly appears behind one of the people that she's going against. I liked that.
I feel good on the badass motherfucker.
Everything else is just kind of slop and just building to Daphne versus Velma. And then Velma is very hurt that Daphne might not want to be with her because she's not popular. So she gets her diary and she's all like, oh, Daphne has to go and see a therapist. Haha, laugh at her. Fucking laugh at her. No, they don't laugh. They're like, mental health is important. So Daphne beats the shit out of Velma. And then Velma realizes that she's an awful person and wants to apologize to Daphne. And then they talk about their feelings and how like, oh, yes, maybe we could be together. Let's hug it out, you know, our trauma. I was going to the therapist for abandonment issues. Oh, Velma. Oh, Daphne. Oh. Yeah, that's great. They're now just friends. And then to end the episode off, we learned that Norville's dad might know something about Dina's disappearance or whatever, and it's a cliffhanger, and that's pretty much the episode for you. Yeah. You know, it's just an episode to deal with Velma and Daphne's lesbians' feelings for each other. It's pretty much it. They're just very conflicted because they don't know if they should showcase that they have risks because they're both lesbians. It's like, it like has that level to it. And then it also has a level of, oh, I'm popular, you're not popular. And then it has a level of, oh, you didn't think about my past traumas. And then it's resolved. I think if they did that in the first 2 minutes, like if they just resolved it right there, and then we had a kick-ass like women's self-defense tournament where they were just trying for all of that instead of all the needless drama, because Daphne's parents in the show, they're lesbian. So I don't think that conversation should have ever came up as a problem. I don't think that should have been a thing. Like, you already established that she's okay with it, Velma's okay with it, everybody in the school seems to be perfectly fine with it if Daphne can be super popular, so why do I have to spend 22 minutes on will they, won't they nonsense? I just don't give a shit. Like, the final part of the episode where it's like, oh, I have trauma and I just didn't know if you were gonna abandon me or not, just like everybody else does. That was cool. Do that within the first, like, 2 minutes of the episode and then let's just have some fun. But no, 22 minutes of that. And I just did not like it. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would give it a solid 2 out of 10. Like, this could have been done in 8 minutes. Like all the content could have been done in just 8 minutes, and it would have been better than this 22-minute episode. Taking a look at episode 4, Velma Makes a List. This episode heavily focuses on like the male gaze and misogyny, and like 90% of the jokes are focused at that, which I personally can't relate to, so I'm sure it's empowering if you're a girl watching this, or if you're dealing with struggles like that. I'm sure a lot of the jokes land for you, but I just felt a little bit lost. But I will say this episode is probably the best one I've seen so far in terms of the storytelling and the pairings. I really did like Norville and Daphne being paired up. They go on like this journey to find where this geode came from, and they end up at this amusement park and almost catch the killer. And I think their personalities bouncing off each other while Norville's trying to learn the secrets to Velma's heart actually worked really well. I enjoyed that aspect of the episode. I thought that was decent. Everything else was just kind of take it or leave it. Some of the things I liked a little bit more. Again, it's just those meta commentaries on how people act today that I don't like as much, because I think meta comedy is just kind of lazy nowadays because everybody does it. It's just a little bit boring. Either way, the episode opens with them being like, yay, we're murder free for 2 weeks, yay! And so they have this big meeting, and I don't like this scene where they're trying to talk about everything because somebody gets murdered that day, and they're like, oh gosh, I can't believe somebody got murdered. And Velma's like, why didn't you guys care when my mom disappeared? And they're like, shut the fuck up, Chatterbox. Shut up. They just like brush it under the carpet for no reason. Like, I didn't understand why they just brushed her off for no reason. It feels like people are overly mean to Velma, and I don't get it, especially when people are dying and she's like pointing things out. I just don't get it. Either way, Fred gets exonerated from his crimes, and the men, the mayor and the sheriff, they're all like, okay guys, we're gonna list the top 5 hottest high schoolers and we're gonna protect them. Which was really weird because a lot of these characters feel like they're very underage. I mean, they are in high school, and just the thought of the town being like, yeah, it's a good idea for some middle-aged white men to rank them all on hotness. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. It's just a little bit odd to me. So Velma, she's not okay with this, so she gets the honor of making the list. And she gets the help from Fred, which causes Fred to read this book where he learns about women, and we actually start getting some character developments for Fred, which I'm glad, because I initially hated what they did with Fred's character. It was just, let's take this guy who was brave in the beginning, who was a team leader, who could help out, and let's just make him a fucking man baby. Let's do that. That's brilliant. He's actually starting to shy away from that and is more just becoming a misogynistic asshole, which I'm hoping they won't just keep that character trait because it's very like oh, Velma and Daphne have to be together, their love is so strong, and Fred is a bad guy, Norville is just a cuck. Like, I hope it actually develops his character into somebody interesting, not so that he could win Daphne back or like be with Velma, because for some reason Fred also wants to be with Velma now. Not for any of those reasons, just so that we could get an actual character arc going for him, so it's not just useless. And I'm hoping by the end of the series, then maybe they're all like a team and they all hang out and they're all the mystery gang. I don't know if that's what it's leading to, but I'm actually glad they're doing something else with Fred's character. So he helps to rank the top 5 hottest women. And they're now on the list, so they all get help from Velma to be ugly, but then it deals with a lot of things like, oh, you should just be comfortable in your own skin. It's great. It's awesome. It's cool, I guess. It's entertaining nonetheless. So then Velma's at school with her mom, and she doesn't understand what beauty is, so she's dressed like an elf and has a weird blue wig on. Cool. Be you. And then she starts giving birth, and we get more meta commentary on what the society is like, because she gets out of the car and they're trying to get an ambulance for her, and everybody's just videotaping her going like, it's crowning, the baby's coming out, oh god. Yeah, it's just kind of stupid. And then Velma and the hot girls, they all learn that they need to show their strengths together, so they all start being sexy in their own ways. And then Fred falls in love with Velma.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's it. And then they go and have the baby, and then Fred shows up at Velma's house later that night, and they're all like, oh god, baby, you're so hot, and we can do like a Beauty and the Beast type thing. And then Velma no longer has feelings for Fred and just wants to focus on Daphne, cementing herself as wanting Daphne. I don't know. It's just kind of whatever. This, again, is probably the best episode I've seen thus far. It just doesn't do a whole lot. It's very great for, like, empowering women. That's cool. I like those aspects of the episode. That's cool. Everything else was just kind of whatever, aside from the Daphne and Norville stuff, finding the serial killer, barely missing him, all that stuff. That was cool. So if I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would probably give it a solid, 5 out of 10. Again, It's the best episode I've seen thus far, but it doesn't do anything amazing that makes me want to rank it any higher. It doesn't do anything awful, though. It's just very middle of the road. Taking a look at episode 5, I'm starting to lose my mental state a little bit. Just the comedy, I don't even talk about it anymore because their jokes just aren't good. They spend all of episode 4 focusing on misogyny and trying to empower women, and then one of the first jokes in episode 5 is a bunch of teenage women being like, I just rear-ended a cop as she's just thrusting her ass into the air to these adult male cops.
It's from the police.
Uh-oh, I just rear-ended a cop.
So what was the point of episode 4 if you're just gonna immediately invalidate all of that and their power and all of that if she just immediately starts throwing ass in the direction of a very old cop? And I don't know if these characters are 18. I really don't. They haven't stated that they are, so I'm just assuming that it's just this 17-year-old, 16-year-old, maybe younger, all trying to thrust themselves into these cops' arms. I don't know. That's just a very odd joke to initially do after you just spent this entire episode trying to be empowering and like fight against what males want and male gaze and male desires, and then you just immediately have the girls who were fighting against that in the episode I just watched have them just throwing stank ass all over them. I don't get it. I don't understand why you would choose to do that joke just right then. I don't know. I guess the previous episode did have Velma twerking, so I guess it's okay when you're doing it at I don't know. It's just a little bit odd, their comedy choices. Either way, this episode kind of pissed me off because I'm not gonna lie, everything that Velma is doing compared to what Daphne has been doing sucks. It actually sucks so much. It pisses me off because I don't care that there's a curfew. I don't care that Velma has to invite all of the bandmates over to try to get Norville back on her side so that she can fight with her hallucinations. I don't care about this four square of relationships. It's pissing me off. Fred wants to be with Velma. Daphne wants to be with Velma, but can't yet. Velma doesn't know if she wants to be with Fred or Daphne. Oh, Velma wants to be with just Daphne. Oh my gosh, Norville has a girlfriend now. Oh man, Velma really wants Norville. And I feel like there's gonna be a relationship bit to it with Velma and Norville eventually developing, because that's what this entire episode feels like it is. I don't know if they're just playing off that joke like, oh, Velma all of a sudden wants Norville, but it's just as a friend so that she could stop her hallucinations. I don't know. That, like, part of the series really annoys me because I just don't care. Just have Velma making out, doing that good shit with Daphne, and end it. Please. Please end the romantical struggles, because I don't care, man. I just don't care. You're not doing anything to make me care. The Daphne side of it, she goes back to that theme park and immediately gets dragged in, and it's revealed that her parents are mascots? Yeah. Brilliant. And they were apparently criminals back in the day, and they were stopped by Daphne's mothers. And they took Daphne away from them, and then they decided not to try to do anything to get Daphne back for 17 or 16 years. I don't know. Yeah, that's the Daphne side of it. I wish we spent, 15 minutes doing that instead of everything we do with Velma, where she's dealing with the band kids. Fred has to go and get some pizza and messes up. Yeah, and then Velma, and I think her name is Gigi, have a contest for Norville's power to help with her hallucinations, where they have a flute off.
Oh, so good, babe. I support you.
Yeah, it's just insanely boring compared to anything that Daphne is doing. I don't like it. They eventually are outside, and Velma gets caught by the police because there's a curfew, and she goes in to spend the night in jail. And we get some more developments about her mom, and apparently that big secret that Norville had with his father that we never got to follow up on was also the fact that his dad knew, or his dad's grandmother was related to Dina. I don't know. It's very convoluted, and honestly, I hate it. I hate every single thing that's going on with the mystery. It initially was what kept me most interested, but I think that was only because of Velma's hallucinations. And now when you're this deep into the story and they happen all the time, I just don't care anymore. I really just want to know what's going on with Daphne. At the end of the episode, we get to see that Daphne gets on this little riverboat, floats into the sewer, back down to the crystal caverns, and we get to see Daphne's parents take off their mascot uniforms, and they're like, "Welcome home, Daphne." Yeah, that's probably the most interesting thing going on right now. Everything else is just kind of slop. Best part of this episode was Velma getting hit by a car. Yeah. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would give it a solid 2 out of 10. Really nothing good. Just a bunch of band geek jokes where it's like, I gotta eat pizza with my pills. And it's just the same band geek jokes over and over again, which aren't very funny. I don't know. It's just very lackluster. Very lackluster for progression. Very lackluster for everything except for what Daphne's going through. Taking a look at episode 6, The Sins of the Fathers and Some Mothers. I feel like the show just kind of flip-flopped everything. I was really into Daphne's storyline, and then they just kind of shat all over it, and I no longer care as much about what's going on with her, but the Velma storyline, it's actually finally starting to get a little bit good. Even though a lot of things shouldn't correlate in the way that they correlate, I actually did enjoy some of the stuff that they did with her plotline. The Daphne plotline was just kind of extremely underwhelming for what happened. She finds her parents, that's cool. She's hanging out with her parents. Her parents are immediately viewed as distrusting because we literally get a scene where it's like, I don't know if we can trust her. So I'm immediately like, oh man, they're probably going to do a twist where they turn out to be bad. And that's exactly what happens after they basically spend no time building it up, no developments. Daphne has been bitching about her abandonment issues for the entire series so far, and it just immediately ends after like 3 scenes in which her father pulls a gun on her and her adoptive parents, they show up and they arrest her, and we learn that her parents abandoned her twice. And that's pretty much it for that entire plot line. I don't know what other developments we're going to get, but I'm assuming Daphne's abandonment issues are now over. It just felt really lazy. It felt really rushed, and they were starting to get me into it like I was into it. I feel like if they just spent like one more episode developing it and then had a reveal to where the parents actually look normal and there was a lot more to it instead of, oh yeah, we're stealing crystals and we want to get away with more crystals. So, yeah, we were using you as an insurance policy and we abandoned you way back when. Yeah, it felt rushed. I didn't like it. But Velma's story, she is now dealing with the fact that if she can relate to her father and come to an understanding with her father, then maybe she'll stop hallucinating. We actually have some more developments in the disappearance of her mother, where there was this doctor who is the grandparent of Norville, who found a way to make the brain still functional without a body. And so they wanted to put that into hippies. Yeah. That's pretty much it for why they wanted to do that, because they don't like hippies. So the mother, Velma's mom, was exploring that, and it's believed that she got kidnapped well inside of Fred's house. So yeah, there's the developments for that. So Velma's trying to repair the relationship with her father. We get some decent stuff out of that, where there's a bunch of different stuff with a bunch of different fathers going on. Like Fred is trying to deal with his father and is trying to not find women attractive for their looks, but for their everything else. And I actually did like that scene where his father's like, "No, get away, Velma, get away! He's supposed to like titties!"
Guys make way less.
But thanks to you, Fred won't call it reverse sexism. He's ruined.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of fun. And then we have Norville, who doesn't want to be a beta cuck anymore because he views his father as a beta. He wants to be an alpha. Yeah! So we get a lot of scenes with that as well, and they're all just okay, I guess. And then Velma is repairing the relationship with her father, and then it turns out that her father is just using her to work. So she, doesn't hallucinate for 1 second, and then she goes to look for the lab where her mom got kidnapped, and she gets knocked out by a brick wall, and she wakes up and her father's all like, "Oh, I want to believe you, but I just can't." And then they go down in the basement, and the father actually believes her when she starts hallucinating again. And yeah, that's pretty much that. I don't know. Velma's hallucinations stop, and I think they're going to be gone for the rest of the series just because her father believes her.
He does? You do?
He does!
But that shouldn't really correlate to why she has hallucinations in the first place, because she goes out when she's a kid to look for the mystery of why her mother disappeared, and it doesn't relate to her father being there. She just starts getting choked and asphyxiated by the hallucinations. She starts getting attacked by it, but it just related to the guilt that her mother was gone. It didn't relate to her father. So why are we just retconning her initial hallucination? I don't know. I just think that's kind of stupid. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. I'm getting heated about this because a lot of this story doesn't make sense, and I'm really upset that the Daphne storyline, which was the thing I was probably most invested in here, just got thrown away and resolved in about 4 scenes that didn't even matter that much. Oh, Daphne was abandoned by these crystal dwellers. Okay, cool. That's it for abandonment issues, I guess. Let's resolve all the character conflicts in just one episode. Cool. Velma's story was getting a little bit better, though. I do like that we're finally progressing in what she can know. And at the end there, we did get to see a serial killer type guy appear. So that was cool. I don't know. It's just a bunch of... It still feels really rushed to me. Like, they had 10 episodes to think about this. They had a lot of time to develop the story, I take it, and just it still feels like they're rushing a lot of plot lines. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would probably give it a 4 out of 10 because, I don't know. Like, it was progressing Velma's story in the right way, but it just completely just toasted anything that Daphne had for her story relating to her parents and her abandonment issues. I just felt like that was done just so rushed. Taking a look at episode 7, Fogfest, this show tries so hard to make it look like Velma is the only intelligent person in this entire town, and it's honestly really dumb, because the town, after hearing about the mad scientist, they're all like, well, she must be the ghost of the mad scientist committing the murders, so that means we could all go out and party and have a great time and do anything that we want. How does that make any sense whatsoever? Like, from a writing standpoint, how do you be like, okay, guys, how do we get the town to still want to go out and have fun and party? Let's have them all think that it was a ghost. Even if it was still a ghost, people are still dying. So how is there any difference whatsoever on whether or not the serial killer is a ghost or a person? People are still dying. How does that just give you the permission to go out and have fun and the curfew is no longer valid? That makes zero sense from a writing standpoint. I don't know what the goal is there, but either way, we have them all preparing for Fogfest, a night where you just go out to a amusement park and have foggy things happen. How awesome, how cool. Velma doesn't like this and still thinks that they should all be, you know, doing curfew because people are dying, and she just randomly gets a little bit of, you know, leverage in her case because she's holding her mom's manuscript for no reason, just to kill a spider, and then she looks at it and she's like, wow, what a coinky dinky jinkies. Jinky jinkies. The book is named Jinkies. So she, for some reason, just because the book is named Jinkies, she now knows that she could read the piece of paper that she found that their mom wrote in that basement that says Jinkies and has a phone number. She calls it, there's no answer. Well, there is an answer, but he doesn't say anything. Wow, we're really getting just heavy into the lore here. So then we get to the fun of the amusement park, which is Norville trying to be the Fog King, Fred trying to be a Fog King, Daphne getting drunk, and Velma dressing up as a man. Yep. Thrilling, huh? And for the first, like, I don't know, 12 minutes, it's just really boring. There's one scene that it was okay, I guess, where it showcases, like, what it's like to be a man versus a woman, and Velma's reaction that she could do anything as a man because women aren't able to do that.
So I say, lady, I'll give you the parking spot when you stop being a bitch.
So it shows her at a comedy club just saying, like, a shit joke and everybody laughs, or she just takes over a woman's place when she's trying to get a job interview just by throwing a resume down. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's just a bunch of jokes like that. They're okay. They're fine. They're nothing too special. It's like the same jokes I've seen every single time this comparison is ever made. So, you know, if you've seen those jokes before and you laughed, maybe you'll laugh again. Who knows? Not me. Norville is ignoring his girlfriend all night. Daphne falls in love with Velma, the version of Velma that is a man, and they almost smooch each other in like a anime yaoi style drawn scene.
I really need to tell you something. I'd be super psyched to kiss you right now.
And then Fred walks over and he's like, stop, that's Velma, stop, because he wants to kiss Velma. And then the serial killer chases them, and I actually thought that was pretty cool. And they do some Scooby-Doo references where they're running through doors, and yes, it's a meta joke where Fred and Norville, they're all like, oh man, it's actually physically impossible for us to go through this door and then go through that door. Yeah, I like that joke. I thought that was fun. Everything else just kind of sucks. The serial killer just vanishes, even though his intention was clearly to kill them. So why didn't he just go through with it? There were multiple opportunities where he could have done that. But, whatever. You know, it's okay. And then Norville talks with Gigi, and they fix their relationship because he was ignoring her, and that's pretty much the episode. Again, I'm just running out of things to talk about, running out of things to joke about, because it feels like they don't really know a story they want to tell here. It just is kind of sloppy all over the place. I did like the Scooby-Doo shenanigans. I thought that was a lot of fun in the episode, where they were just like classic Scooby-Doo running away from the killer type scenes. That was fun. And then once we strayed away from that, I was just left sad to say the least. Yeah. I could feel it. I could feel it. Like 7 minutes into Velma, I'm definitely feeling drained. I'm not feeling like my impression jokey self anymore. I feel like I'm being held down at a carnival and there's a clown and he's about to bash my balls in with a sledgehammer. It's not a good feeling to have. It's not a good feeling to have. And especially because now Velma doesn't have hallucinations anymore. There's nothing animation-wise that's wowing me. So I'm just kind of stuck everywhere. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would probably give it a 5 out of 10. You know what? 6 out of 10. I really did like those Scooby-Doo shenanigans. I just think the idea of making the entire town stupid so that they could all go out and party is a little bit weird. I don't know. Just some of the writing decisions boggle my mind. It's so brain dead, man. It's so bad. Maybe it's just a side effect of sitting down for hours on end watching nothing but Velma, but I feel like my sanity is starting to dwindle a little bit. Episode 8 is a Velma in the woods, and they do like a flashback thing. The episode starts off with Daphne and Velma crushed by this rock, and then they're like, oh yeah, we need an unnecessary flashback because we gotta get as meta as possible. And then it cuts to Daphne and Velma in a car with Daphne's parents, and they're talking about how, oh man, well if we're doing this flashback and Fred's missing now. I didn't even notice that in the last episode. Maybe it's because my brain is rotting. They're like, oh man, well if Fred is missing, then maybe we should do a flashback to Fred instead of a flashback to us. Man, did you see how meta that was? Wasn't that funny? Wasn't that funny how they got meta and silly and different? And they were all like, oh man, we should do a flashback to Fred instead to know what's going on with that kooky character. And then I really want to do a title card that says Fred's name on it. I love title cards just like that. Isn't that the funniest joke you could ever tell in the entire planet?
Now that feels lazy.
It's stylized. It's Tarantino.
What is the incident?
Oh no, bro. They didn't get meta in an episode of Velma. I'm gonna lose my mind, bro. God, it's just too funny.
It sucks. It sucks so bad that all they could do is be fucking meta to tell jokes. It just sucks. Like, there's certain shows that can make it work, like Rick and Morty. Only when Rick was doing that in like the first 4 seasons was it funny, because Rick is just that type of guy. He's cynical. He understands what comedy is, but Velma is not the character to do that. We then cut to Fred, because of course it actually leads to his flashback where he's been kidnapped, thrown into this room with the brains of the actual girls who were murdered, and those brains are still active and working, and they talk to Fred, and you know, it just it gets lame again because, God, they start getting meta again. They start getting meta again because they're all like, oh God, who would take a beloved cartoon and make it into a playful reimagination? Talking about Velma.
Phew. You going from Daphne to Velma is worse than going from a beloved cartoon to a playful reimagining.
Yeah, it's just stupid. And then they start roasting Velma, and then they start talking about how Daphne should still be with Fred, and it doesn't make sense for Fred to like Velma. And then Fred starts going on and on about how he wants that brain-ussy. Yeah, he looks at the brains and he's like, I think we can make this work, you know? I've realized that the brain is the most important part of the female body. And it's like he wants to kiss it. So I have no doubt that if Fred got one of those brains out of that container, he would just start going, oh yes, yes, knowledge is power, yeah, baby. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what Fred would do. I don't know, either way, it sucks. We cut back to Velma, Daphne, and Gigi and Norville, who are also in the ravine, and we get a bunch of conversations about how Daphne was obsessed about somebody else and Velma took it too far, and that's what led to them falling into the ravine. It's all really stupid. We get this flashback of Velma going over to Daphne's, and Daphne was hanging out with a girl, so Velma gets jealous and then pulls like the ultimate Karen move. Like, have you ever seen those videos where a Karen is mad at a guy, so they'll just like fake falling over and start screaming, oh, you hurt me, you hurt me. Yeah, that's basically what Velma does, but with her hallucinations. She fakes her hallucinations.
I'm having a deadly hallucination.
I thought those were over.
Me too. Being so close to finding my mom must have triggered it. But go shoot your calendar.
I'm not rooting for any character in the show anymore. I really don't like a lot of the characters. And then Gigi and Norville start having problems with their relationship because Gigi feels like Norville still has feelings for Velma, which I feel like hasn't been showcased at all in the show to like portray that. Like, Velma literally had to grind and earn Norville's attention, and it was still up to Gigi to give that. So I don't really feel like that's much of the reason but they fall deeper in the hole when they all try to kill each other. So they're falling down into this hole, down into the depths, down deep, 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 deep down, and they end up right where Fred is. They go in there. Velma barely manages to save the brains, but then she still falls in the hole, and then Velma's mom appears out of fucking thin air. Thin air, baby, thin air! Which felt like the most unrewarding reveal ever because it didn't have any buildup. She just appears and saves Velma from falling in the hole, which was so stupid. Like, there's 2 episodes left in this season, and I hope there's a better explanation for why she just randomly decided to appear in that room. Was she just watching Fred like, oh yeah, preteen boy in here, God, I haven't seen one in a while. Like, what could she possibly have been doing to reveal herself right then? I don't get it. It feels so unrewarding. I was really hoping that there was going to be more of a build-up to the mom's reveal instead of it just happening. But whatever. Velma's mom is back, and they drive out of there in the mystery machine, but they can't call it the mystery machine. They have to make a meta joke because that's the only way to keep it, to their own IP. So they drive out of there, barely managing to survive, and then her mom can't remember who took her. That's the end of the episode. Yeah. I'm losing my fucking sanity. I'm losing it out here. I'm not feeling good. I felt like the middle episodes were probably not very entertaining to watch me talk about because I just didn't know what to say because they were boring. Here, it's just getting to the point where I don't want to watch this anymore because all of the jokes are so bad. Every single one that they try to tell sucks. The mystery is just completely fallen off the edge of a cliff because why is the mom back for no reason? Why is there no explanation? You gotta build these things up, make me lick the lion's tail. That's not an expression. I don't know what the fuck I just said. My brain is rotting from the inside out. Did I rate the episode yet? I don't even know. 1 to 10? It's a fucking 1 out of 10. I hate it. I don't want to watch it again. It sucks. 2 more episodes. God. Episode 8, Family Woman, baby. Does the show get better? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. We start off the episode with, again, another joke that it feels like the show wouldn't want to tell, with one of the teenage girls being like, oh, I got my butt implants. Oh, I look so good. Let me throw it back, baby.
My butt looks amazing. Hopefully this time nothing causes my implants to come out.
And then the door slams on it, and then she's like, oh, I still got my butt implants. And then the door slams on it so they get ruined. Every single second that I've watched of the show feels like this show would hate that kind of joke. Yet, they continue to tell that kind of joke, which seems odd to me. Either way, the mom is back, and she has 72 hours to remember who the serial killer was. God, it's just so unbelievably stupid. The way they progress the story, the way they could have told something interesting, it's all dumb. This entire episode, it really sucks. They're trying to keep Velma's mom happy as can be, while avoiding the fact that her husband left her within 6 weeks and has a baby, while Velma is not doing very well in school, all of that stuff, and then she'll just randomly remember something ultimately pointless, and it sucks. It really does suck. Daphne and Fred, they have to pretend they're in a romance so that they could be popular again because the brain girls, they say that they're not popular anymore. It's just all so dumb. I can't believe we're 9 episodes in and we're still focusing on the popular aspects of the story, still focusing on the romance episodes of the story. It's just so stupid. Daphne and Velma are right on the cusp of going on a date with each other, but Daphne wants to be popular, so she starts going out with Fred, faking it, and that leads to some shenanigans at the end of the episode. It's just fucking pointless. Like, there's one point in the episode, like, I don't know where they're going with Fred's character. Like, I thought episode 5, where Fred was starting to, be interested in Velma, was gonna lead to some good character traits, some good character development, but then he's just flushing his head into a toilet. Like, I understand that Fred isn't the sharpest tool in the drawer, but did you have to make him the biggest fucking idiot that there ever was in a single show? Like, he's so dumb. But either way, they're pretending to be in a relationship and it's working so they could get invited to a party. At the same time, Velma and Norville are pretending to be in a relationship, saying that they had the baby so the mom doesn't realize that they had a baby. And again, it's very pointless, very needless. It's just more garbage, and eventually Velma thinks that Norville's dad is the killer and sends tanks and police officers to his house because just at the flip of the dime, whatever Velma says, they're just gonna do, like shooting Fred in the legs or like bringing a tank to Norville's house, which leads to their friendship just kind of crumbling in front of Velma, and so Velma drops the baby and has to chase the baby in a baby chase scene. And it's sad and pointless. and they eventually end up at this party where Daphne and Fred kiss to prove that they're popular and cool, and Velma sees this to create more nonsensical drama instead of just Daphne and Velma getting together, which should have happened 5 or 4 episodes ago. I just don't care anymore. And then the mom, just out of nowhere, because she finds out that her husband cheated on her, is all like, I remember who the serial killer is. It's me. Yippee. Unbelievably thrilling. There is nothing better than Velma's incredible storytelling, its twists and turns. Everything I've been going through has been leading to this moment. I think I'm gonna bust everywhere. Yes, this is exactly what I needed in terms of storytelling. One of the shittiest twists in history that makes absolutely no sense in terms of why any of this is happening. I hope this 1 episode that's left is gonna rejuvenate everything and make it all better. Yeah, 1 out of 10. Hey, next episode. Taking a look at episode 10, the finale of season 1 of Velma. The episode that's supposed to set everything right. All of the character building, all of the emotion, the mystery, everything that we've been dealing with over these past 10 episodes. It's supposed to be resolved in this 1 episode right here, right now. And how does it do it? Is it in a nice, neat bow that's going to make everything feel so much better, so good? And I'm gonna just leave this series feeling like I spent these 4 hours in bliss. No, that's not how it went down. This sucked. This really sucked. Like, a lot, man. Like, a lot. Velma is dealing with the fact that her mom is a serial killer on death row. She goes to visit her, and it turns out that she's hypnotized. And then Velma, all of a sudden, just because, she just has a revelation that, oh my god, I was hypnotized as a kid. That's why I have hallucinations, which is stupid. I was kind of hoping that it would be more of a ghostly reason to why she has hallucinations to be revealed, but it's not. She just got hypnotized into having hallucinations, which is kind of dumb, and it turns out that Fred's dad kidnaps Daphne and Fred and takes them away, so Velma needs to go to the same place where her mom went, down into a well, and at the same time, Norville has the side plot of being so sick of Velma's shit that he leaves town, and then Velma calls him and is all like, I'm so sorry, Norville. I'm so sorry. You're the best friend I could ever ask for. I love you so much. And she says, I love you, but didn't mean to, which just adds more to this stupid ass love square nonsense. Not a love triangle, a love square between 4 people, because apparently it wasn't even, I thought initially it was like a I love you as a friend. It apparently isn't like that, which sucks. If you're going to commit to a romance plot line after spending the entire season building it up, you can't just turn on it on a flip of a dime. It pisses me off. So they get there because Velma is such a boss slay bitch, her own words, and she finds Daphne and Fred and is trying to take them out. She manages to get the serial killer tied up because she gets bats to maul him, and it turns out that it is Fred's mother who did all of this. The big reveal, because she didn't want her baby boy to run the business. She wanted to put Daphne's head inside of Fred, which is odd. And then she manages to get up and puts Velma in the chair and wants to take Velma's reign and put into Fred because she has the weird ideology that the second that Velma enters a white man's body, she'll realize that she never wants to go back. Yeah. Wow, what a beautiful, sexy, convoluted plan. God, I love it. I love it so much. And so Velma starts making fun of Fred, so he breaks out, and then they chase him down. And then Fred's mom convinces Fred that she's a ghost and her body was taken over, so Fred gives her the gun. And Daphne and Velma are about to die and get shot by Fred's mom. So they're all Daphne's like, I love you, Velma. Straight from the heart, queen. I love you. Slay up. And Velma says, I love you too, Norville.
I love you too, Norville.
What?
Really? Really? You're gonna spend the entire season developing this relationship, even though it honestly shouldn't have began in the first place because it was very unreasonable as to why they would like each other. You spend so many episodes building it up, having them really like each other, so many blushing scenes, smooches here, so much will they, won't they bullshit, just for Velma to like Norville now, because Velma realizes after 2 years that Norville has been doing everything for her. Wow, what a great relationship. Yeah, hey Norville, come be my beta little bitch and do everything I want, and then I'll love you. I'll give you that good Velma ussy. Yeah, great. And so Velma's mom fires the gun. Norville has a sword, so he blocks it, and it hits like a pillar, and it falls and kills Velma's mom.
Shit. Mother?
And I thought we were going to have like a happy ending to where they're all feeling like the mystery gang. That is not the case. They are all now at each other's throats, and that pretty much ends the series. At least Velma is happy with her mom. Wow. Wow. God, it was so brilliant. Brilliant. It's the best thing I've ever watched. Oh my God. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for the finale. In all actuality, the finale is a 1 out of 10. There is just nothing that makes this worth my while, worth watching the entire season. The reveal was absolutely dog shit. The entire reason for the show existing was stupid. It didn't make sense for the mom to want to switch Daphne into Fred because Daphne is still a person. Why would she want to run the business? It makes no sense whatsoever. It's just, oh, so atrocious. And just the fact that it's just still the four-square romance at the end. Nothing was paid off. Fred is still a shit character. Velma got her mom, so I guess that's cool. Daphne and Velma's relationship is still on heat, on ice, so that wasn't good. And now Velma has feelings for Norville, and it just sucks. That was an awful ending. I'd like to start off this conclusion by saying, no, I will not be watching Velma Season 2 unless you get this video to 10,000 likes. The reason I'm doing such a big ask is because that was a truly atrocious experience. At the end of the day, there was nothing worth watching that for. The mystery ultimately sucked. The only thing that I really liked was the hallucinations. I thought it was going to have a paranormal effect to it, like the serial killer needs all these brains so that it could like telepathically send people to like invade Velma's mind or something interesting like that. The fact that it was just a hallucination like caused by hypnotizing story, that was stupid. Didn't like that. Didn't like the reveal of Velma's mom just coming out of nowhere. Didn't like Fred's development as a character. Oh, sorry, excuse me. I'm dying on the inside after this experience. Didn't like Fred's development as a character at all because it was ultimately pointless. You have him start off just very dumb, has this plot line of, oh, I can't show off my body, and then he like gets like empowered by women and he's more interested in intellectuals, and you think that's where the story's gonna go, to where he actually just learns to appreciate them and doesn't need a reason. But no, he just ends the story being a little shit stain who gets angry, and that's his only reason for existing, and then he's just very dumb throughout the entire thing. Norville, his entire progression is, oh wow, I need to realize that I'm not a bad person and that I can go and do stuff for myself and not be attached to Velma. Oh my god, I heard Velma loves me. I'm back to being the exact same. Cool. Daphne and Velma, from episode 2, their relationship was built up as like the main thing of the story. It's something that you should look for. There were multiple episodes dedicated to building this relationship, the abandonment issues, Velma struggles with her mom, Velma learning that she needs to appreciate Daphne, Daphne learning that she needs to be okay with being with Velma. All that stuff just tossed out the window because all of a sudden Velma likes Norville now. Great. So why did I watch all those episodes? The mystery reveal of it being the mom was extremely underwhelming, and I just didn't care at the end of the day because her plan ultimately sucked. Like, genuinely. Like, why? First off, I understand kidnapping Velma's mom because she was onto her, but why would you go through the habit of killing all 3 of those girls and taking their brains if you didn't know if you wanted them yet? You got to know Daphne, who at the time, at the beginning of the series, was dating your son. Why wouldn't you just have a conversation with her, or like start like a school fundraiser to interview a bunch of different girls about their like desires and fashion, and could they be cutthroat and running a business, all of that, and then picked out that one girl, convinced her to do this, and then put her into Fred's body. Like, I feel like there were way better ways to go about that, and all of it just ended up sucking. Not to mention that every single point of evidence that Velma initially found was ultimately pointless because there was no build-up, there was no development to it. It would just be Velma, like, reading one word or just, like, sitting there and being like, oh my god. Yeah, it's just dumb. And not to mention, they decided to make the town as stupid as possible so that Velma is the only character that knows what's going on. And that was also annoying throughout the entire show because it's the most, like, basic thing ever. Like, oh man, we shouldn't go into Fred's house and shoot him in the fucking legs because we don't have enough evidence, but let's do it anyway. Oh man, let's rank the top 5 hottest women and only protect them. Oh man, geez, Velma's so stupid. Velma sucks when she's the only person, like, actually looking into the case. It was just all so stupid. I hate this show. Yeah. So 10,000 likes and I'll look at Velma season 2, I guess. I don't know. I feel like this video wasn't even very entertaining because when a show is this bad, it's really hard for me to find stuff to joke about or to do impressions of or to do anything for. So if this video wasn't very entertaining and all the things I said were just kind of, you know, a low for me, I apologize. But this was a very, very hard show to get through. I can't believe that there's fans of this and that clamored for a season 2 and are willing to defend this. This is one of the worst things I've ever had to watch. But I'm glad I got through it. I really am. So apologies if this isn't the most entertaining video I've ever done. But yeah, I tried my best there. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.